All right. Hey, thanks you guys. Again, it said it detected some kind of copyright, and I don't know what. Like, I have nothing here. I don't know if it hears the birds singing and thinks that that's some kind of song, but sorry, it keeps getting cut off, and I don't know what to do about that. But yeah, let's just start painting. I'm glad y'all are able to find me if it gets cut off. I'll have to figure out why that happens, but yeah. Weird times we're living in, and you know, the technology is going to keep changing now, and it's going to get better. So anyway, glad to see all of you here. Something I wanted to talk about today is the colors yellow and purple. And the reason why is because recently I got into violets and dandelions because I have a friend that does like foraging, and she said that they're really good for you and they grow everywhere, and they're growing right now pretty abundantly. So I kind of got into it, and then I thought, well, purple and yellow, those are complementary colors. So maybe we can do a little painting exercise using purple and yellow to start with today. So I think those of you that are on here are pretty familiar with the concept of complementary colors, but just to review, I made my little color wheel chart here. The red, blue, and yellow are the primary colors. Purple, green, orange are secondary colors. And then colors that come across from each other on the color wheel are complementary sets. So when those colors, they pair really nicely together. I sound like I'm talking about wine, but they're like those families, purples and violets paired with yellows, can be really interesting visually together. But also when you use them in your paint mixing, they neutralize each other. So I thought today we could practice mixing yellows and purples and make a painting, a study, starting off with these two colors. Then if you want to add more color on top of that, you can, but we'll just focus on yellow and purple today. Now, hopefully you have a purple. I know I don't usually have it in my on my materials list, but I won't be holding up a tube of paint right now, but I have dioxazine purple that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use some cadmium yellow. Another thing I want to say is if you guys have any questions, like if you're working on anything and in the future, if you have questions about something you want to see or you want me to go over in the future, feel free to let me know. And, you know, maybe it's something we can cover in the future. So right now I'm putting some purple, yellow, and I'm going to put some white down also on my palette, which I cleaned off especially for today. So I'm curious, are any of you actually going to be painting along today? I have no idea how long I'm going to be doing this, to be perfectly honest, but I'd love it if y'all can paint along. Would be really cool. And then what would be even cooler is if you can share your paintings with me, and maybe I can post them onto my blog or something in the future. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up. I have dioxazine purple, cadmium yellow, and white, titanium white. And just to start with, let's see here, hopefully it's not going to get cut off again. I'm trying to avoid it seeing labels, so I'm going to go a little higher here. can see some of the stuff I'm working on right now. Okay. So to start with, I thought we should just work with these colors and mix them up and get as many different varieties between the yellow and the purple. So I'm going to grab a big brush. I'm going to start with yellow right out of the tube and just work with it and then gradually add a little purple to it. Sorry, there's this shadow here. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Is this looking enough? Lisa, you are so adorable. Okay, so you see how adding a little purple, I actually just added a teeny tiny bit of purple to my yellow and it's already turned it this kind of brown color. I'm going to try to go and find something somewhere in between there. So like I said earlier, complementary colors neutralize each other. And by that I mean they turn more of a brown color when you mix them together. Sometimes gray also. I also am going to add a little white in here so you can see what that looks like. So mixing these two colors together, I should get a nice range of browns. And if you are working, try creating a value scale here. Starting with a light yellow, moving into some neutrals, and moving into a your darkest purple. Like I said, I'm using dioxazine purple, but you could also use a violet if you have one. If you need to mix up blue and red, do that. I'm going to start putting a little white in this purple. And just use this time right now to just work with these two colors, maybe add some water, get real drippy with it, layer your paints. I did a video earlier this week on working with a wide brush and trying to get as many different marks as you can with the wide brush. So you might try making like some lines with your purple or whatever neutral color you've mixed up. And then also make fill in some larger areas. I like to use the corner of my brush to get little dots. I don't know if you can see that. So this is just kind of a color study, paint mixing study for now, and also playing with your brushes and trying to use your brush in as many different ways as you can. Also, maybe add some water to your paint. Try working with different viscosities with your paint. And try getting like as many different values of paint that you can get. How's everyone doing? Sarah. Something that's really good to try too is put some dark purple down. And when it dries, we're going to try to work with a lighter color on top of that. Because a lot of people have a hard time with that. And hey, feel free to ask questions in the comments if anything here is not making sense. So one thing that's important to know about yellow is a lot of times people will take it and they just start globbing it on when they want to, paint on top of a dark color, like paint some dandelions on a field. They'll just start taking their yellow and painting with it. But as the yellow dries, it becomes very transparent. So what I recommend is you mix a little bit of white into your yellow to make it more opaque, and then use that on top of your dark color. Feel free to get real abstract with this. This is just a study. We're gonna work on on a painting. I'm not sure if people saw the links to different bouquets that you could work from. I always like working from life myself, but I didn't have any flowers. I was gonna pick some flowers, but it's rainy out, so I didn't do that. Oh well. Good questions. Good tip. Thanks. I'm always like happy if people learn something. If you have your glazing fluid handy, again, I'm not going to hold it up because I don't want to get cut off, but if you have that handy, it's a clear fluid medium. Try working with that also, mixing that into your paint and making your paint a little more transparent and painting with that also. It's funny because I usually work flat in my classes, so this might be a new thing for you to see me painting on an easel like this. I like to mix a little yellow into my purple for an interesting brown, like a dark brown also. So I know this is getting kind of murky, but just so you see the range that you can get with these two colors, yellow and purple. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add red, blue, white to my palette of colors. I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then we can also practice now using this as a base and then applying other colors on top of it, because essentially that's what we're going to do today when we work on our flower bouquets. So I'll do that. I'll add some red. I'm going to add alizarin crimson, and I'm actually going to add a cadmium red also. And you know, whatever paint colors you have that you want to work with today, feel free. I always like to have my primaries, my red, yellow, and blue. But if you have extra colors that you want to play around with, I mean, why not? My white paint is at that point where it makes a weird sound when the paint comes out of it, so excuse me. Okay. I do have more white. How's everyone doing? Are your paints that you applied dry, or will it mix in? These paints right now are still wet. I'm waiting for it to set up a little bit. Some parts of it might be dry, some parts of it will still be wet. I like working that way, but if it's uncomfortable for you, if you want it completely dry, you can set it up and let it be all the way dry. Right now, as I start painting on it, it's going to be a little bit wet still, and we'll just see how that works. I hope that answered the question. Um, so I'm going to go ahead. I'll mix a green up right now so you can see. Um, and paint on top of that. If the paint is still wet on this part, the juicier your brush stroke, the better it's going to sit on the top of the wet paint. Now, sometimes you might want to blend it in. So in that case, I'm going to take a little alizarin crimson here. Here it's wet, and I can come in here and actually try to blend it into the paint. I'm not sure if you can see that. A little closer. So you could try, I mean, I like working both ways. I tend to like to just keep painting and not wait for paint to dry. But if you want your marks to sit on top of what you've painted, you got to have a nice juicy mark. See, right here, the paint is still wet, so I could maybe blend it in a little bit there if I wanted to. But sometimes that over blending in a painting it can look a little forced. Sarah, I use phthalo blue just because that's what I have right now. This is the palette. It's kind of gone a little rogue, but I have my two reds. I really like using these two reds, alizarin, and it's a cadmium red um, hue. It's actually pyrrole red, Pyrrole. So I like to use those, and then that's the phthalo blue and cadmium yellow and white, and dioxazine purple, and then this is cadmium yellow also. I didn't put any brown, any burnt umber on here. But as y'all know, I like to take my three darkest colors and mix them together to get a dark value. So in this case, I've got blue, purple, and red that I can mix together for something dark. I don't know if you can, if you're able to see that. I'm going to go ahead and add a little burnt umber to my palette here too. Will the glaze make a difference in wet dry? The glaze usually keeps it wet a little bit longer. Yeah, so if you want to blend, the glaze is a good thing to use for that. Are your paints that you pledge? Okay. So I'm going to try to show you with the glaze how you might go ahead and approach this. In fact, I'm going to use my my color wheel because I think you'll be able to see this a little better. So here's my color wheel. I'm using glaze, and I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber in the glaze. And I'm going to make a transparent glaze, a transparent layer of paint over that. And then what I could do from here is come in and maybe blend even more into that because it's wet. So I could blend like a dark background here into that wet layer of glaze. It makes your paints a little more blendable. Um, it also darkens everything if you cover with it. But yeah, the glaze just makes, instead of adding water to it, or just water, you could add glaze. And then I could come back with my orange and come on top of that. Is everyone still on here? Okay. So let's see. I'll take some red and work on top of that now. Still messy. Just play around with the glaze. It does help your color. It helps you to blend your colors. So if you like the kind of painting that's really smooth, no brushwork, just smooth details, glazing medium is your friend. If you like something that's a little more active, more brush strokes, the glazing medium isn't as necessary, but it still helps to kind of keep your paint wet and fresh. But I think exploring with it is a good thing to do. Yay, Roberta! I'm so glad you're having fun. I need to change my water. I'm going to let you all paint for a second here. I'm going to change my water, and we're going to move into working on a still life. So take some time, keep painting. Now I'm going to tell y'all, I actually did prepare. I'm using the picture that I sent out in the newsletter. And I did do a little sketch on this canvas. And what we're going to do is we're going to work, whatever picture you want to use is fine. But we're going to start off, like we did with the color study, we're going to start off with just yellow and purple to build an underpainting. And then we're going to work on top of that with our color to get some details and all of that. So that's going to be what we do here in a minute. But like I said, I'm going to run off and change my brushes and clean my brushes, change my water, all of that stuff. So I'll let you look at this and I will be right back. We're still live, yay. So glad we haven't gotten cut off. Did anyone download, like, do y'all have a picture of a bouquet or something to work from? Maybe for the next part of the lesson. Of course, you don't have to. You can just be hanging out, drinking tea, which is awesome too. I hope you are. I actually made some tea for myself too before I started doing this. So I'll put the picture up here. So yeah, my friend Veronica lives in Seattle, and we've been in touch. She is a flower arranger, among other things. And so she has this beautiful Instagram page. She has these two awesome cats. So I thought it would be nice for me to work from her a picture of her bouquet because she's just a dear friend, and I love her cat. She has two cats. They're named Frank and Beans. I'm not sure which one this is. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Maybe I'll move this down a little. Okay. So remember, we're going to start off today with this painting. We're going to just start with working with our yellow and purple. And I already made a little sketch for myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just yellow right out of the tube. And I'm going to go ahead and just paint a yellow wash down over this. Now, hopefully it won't smudge my painting too much. But I always like to start with a bright color with my paintings. Even like, the oil paintings that I do, I always like to start with some kind of a bright base. So I sometimes will use like a magenta base or like an orange base. But for me, just because that's the kind of person I am, I like to have a bright color underneath everything, kind of holding it together. But you can also work with a more neutral color if you want. So as I'm painting, my drawing here is actually smudging a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and work with that and kind of keep my drawing as much as possible because it's smudging. I kind of had a feeling that would happen. I did use graphite pencil for this little sketch here. But yeah, when you work on canvas, which this is a primed canvas, your drawing tends to smudge a little more than it would on paper. Okay. Hey, Alana. Alana, did you hear what I said about the cats? My friend Veronica has two cats. One's named Frank and one's named Beans. Frank and Beans. I'm not sure which one this is. I feel like it's Beans because it has those two little dots on its face. I don't know why though. I'm not sure if that's. They're both black and white cats like that. So, okay. So this is just base start. I know it is. It's super cute. So next thing I'm going to do is establish my sketch a little bit better for myself so I can see what I'm doing. I mean, I have this pencil sketch down, but now I'm going to just grab a little bit of my purple and mix it with a touch of yellow so I have like a neutral-ish color. So you might see that here. My palette's so messy. Um, and now I'm just gonna kind of go around the whole painting and start uh, just establishing this drawing a little better for myself, and start plugging in the different values, like where it's dark. I'm not going to go the darkest I possibly can just yet because I'm going to build this up in layers. But I am just going to start trying to establish my drawing a little bit better with paint. And I hope that makes sense. And when you work on canvas, I mean, a lot of you are used to me working on paper in my classes at AB Tech. The paper absorbs the moisture of your paint a lot faster. When you work on canvas, it actually stays wet a little bit longer, which is something. It's funny because some people get really frustrated by that, and then other people love it. So, um, everyone has their own little comfort zone. See, I'm already going off my drawing a little bit here. So again, I'm not plugging in any colors just yet, but just starting to establish the lights and the darks of the painting. So for me, um, oh yeah, Sarah, she's doing well. I put her Instagram page, my friend Veronica, I put her Instagram, a link to her Instagram page in my newsletter. And if you go to, she posted a picture of herself like hula hooping. She's she's doing well. But yeah, they're on lockdown for a little while. Sarah, I almost went to New Orleans. I had a ticket to go to New Orleans, my first time, for April, and I'm not doing it now. So I tend to, I think I was saying, I tend to be like a little looser with my uh, bouquets and my paintings. I mean, as you all are familiar with my work. So I'm not going to get stuck on any intense details right now. I'm just loosely plugging in like where things are going to go and some kind of a message. I won't check. I'm going to put this little pear in here. Couldn't you glaze over drawing first? You could, yeah. You mean like just take the glaze and blend it to the drawing? Sarah, you can do that. You could just take your clear glaze and go over your drawing. I didn't because I didn't work. I didn't use charcoal. I didn't use um, a strong color or a strong enough value. Um, so I didn't do that. But also because this is a purple and yellow painting um, lesson, I just wanted to work with the purple paint also. So I'll put that, oh, a couple figs here. Sorry for that sound. So if you wanted to go in and establish more of the values, the lights and the darks in your painting now, you could. Like I could come in here maybe and go a little darker where the kitty is. Um, However far you want to push this underpainting, feel free. And I am using a pretty big brush. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush so I could get a little more detail. How's everyone doing? I mean, if you want to really push yourself today and just try to paint the whole painting with these neutral colors, um, feel free to do that. It is definitely a challenge. Just joining in. Jill, did you just try to chat me on Gmail because I heard your beep, but I didn't. I didn't answer it. So, Jill, just to catch you up, um, we are. I'm working from this photo. If you have a picture you want to work with, or if you have flowers or anything you want to work with directly, awesome. And we're just making an underpainting right now using yellow and purple and white. And then from here, we're going to work with color on top of that. But try to push your underpainting as much as possible. It's really like I want to get into working with color right away because I like working with color a lot, but I'm going to try to hold off here for a minute. Will this be available later? Yeah, it will be. I'll post it. I mean, you're going to have to skip through it to kind of get through the parts where, you know, talking a lot. But yes, it will be posted. I'll post it. So I'm going to come in a little darker. One thing I like to do is blur my vision. It's kind of nice. I can see it in the camera too and compare these. And just assess like where the darkest areas, where the lightest areas, and start trying to plug those in also. Um, some, how are we doing? Ah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, definitely. I need to get to New Orleans. Okay. Something I like to do right now, my paint, when you work on canvas, the paint, if it's wet, it's kind of hard to, I don't know, you can tend to kind of like wipe things off as you're painting. That's a challenge. But what I'm going to do is just go around the whole painting and start plugging in where I see the darkest areas. Um, and I do this frequently when I'm painting, just to help me see things. So I need to go pretty thick with my purple here. So you have to go a little thicker with your paint if it's all wet and kind of smearing off in order to start seeing those dark spots. There's a lot of shadows in here I'm going to try to get. And the kitty cat's tail is back here, which is really cute. So fun watching you paint. Thanks, Sarah. I honestly do get to these moments where I'm like, I don't know, what do I do next? I mean, I still get to that point, um, which I'm glad because it makes it interesting. It makes it fun. Let's see. Okay, so is anyone else painting? I think I'll paint the word cat in my study. Nice. Do it. So I'm just kind of painting around things also now to just paint a little bit of a background here. Um, so keep in mind, for me, this is going to be my underpainting. This isn't the final painting at this point. Um, so I'm keeping it loose. Okay, touch this later. Oh, cute. Thanks for checking in, Jen. Have fun with your kids. I have your little girl's drawing over here. Um, yeah, both of them, a little unicorn and a mermaid. I'll have to show it next time. Um, all right, I'm gonna start. I'm getting impatient. I'm gonna start putting color on top of this now. So it might, like, if it's hard to control the paint, like for me, this is still kind of wet. Um, yeah, I should probably wait a little bit before I start putting color on it, but I'm gonna just go ahead and start doing that and then maybe cut this off at an hour. But, maybe I can come back to this next week um, or just keep painting. We'll see what happens. But you can see now I'm starting to put color in here. How's everyone doing out there? What color can I add to make me more opaque, stronger yellow for the darker yellow of the dandelions? Great question. You could try adding, you could try using yellow ochre because that's a very opaque color, or burnt sienna because that's also an opaque color. I mean, you can use white, but then that makes it lighter. So maybe try the burnt sienna, or even you have to be really careful, but you could also try using a little cerulean blue because that's an opaque color. So yellow ochre, cerulean blue, burnt sienna are all opaque paints. I hope that helps. Also, raw umber is a opaque color. Yellow ochre, cerulean blue, raw umber, all opaque. Yes, and burnt sienna. Yeah, you just, that's why I said you got to use it really carefully, Roberta, like um, the teeniest amount, and it will go green. So maybe don't try that. Try the yellow ochre if you have it. Cool. I'm going to do my favorite part of a painting now. I'm going to take my white. I think in one of my classes we called it the blobette. But when the white gets all the little colors in it, um, I said I want a word for that, and someone called it a blobette. So I like to take that white when it gets all those little colors in it and mix it together, and then use that in something because it's a nice neutral color. So I can use it. Um, in here. So what I like to do then is add a touch of blue to it. Um, I'm going to add a little blue. So I have a very light, light, light blue. And then I'm going to come in here and start to paint around everything and paint like my background. This is my favorite part of a painting because sometimes this is when you can really start to see it. See how it's like starting to, when I paint that background in, I can start to see the painting a little bit better myself. So that's something I love. I love this part of the painting for myself. And then I think I'll use slightly darker blue gray for now under here. Oh, Sarah, thanks. Love the background and foreground. Thanks, Denise. Good to see you. See you. Okay. So yeah, so from here I'm going to keep going. I'm going to mix a black. I'm going to do burnt umber, my purple since I have it, some red, and maybe a little blue. Start getting into the kitty cat. Thank you, Lisa. I didn't see that until now. It's really sweet. Thanks. How's everyone doing out there? Are people painting? Um, just checking in how everyone's doing. Um, if you think you want to do this again, like do another live stream session, let me know. You could write it in the comments. Um, I'm thinking maybe Thursday, try it again, maybe around the same time. Um, I don't have a lot. I have a few commissions right now, but obviously not teaching. So this has been really fun for me. It's really awesome to see everyone. Um, the more, the better. Cool. Yeah, it's nice to have something to feel a little more normal. Well, I'm going to try to do this again. Let's say Thursday. Um, Now, those of you that tuned in at 11 today, we had some issues getting the live stream going, but just keep refreshing my channel page if that happens in the future. And, let's, because eventually something like this hasn't gotten cut off, so that's good. So yeah, if you can't find it right away, just keep refreshing my channel. So yeah, I'm doing right now. What I'm doing is I'm kind of going around the whole painting with a dark color again. I tend to do that when things start getting lost in a painting. I just go around it with a dark color and put in all the shadows um, to start, so I can see. So things will start popping out a little bit more for me. But I would love if people will send me a picture to my Gmail account, which is ursulagullo@gmail. Um, and then maybe I can post some of these on my blog, or something, so people can see each other's paintings. I'm doing a free online retreat every morning, 9 to 12, starting Wednesday. I can send info about it if anyone's interested. So Wednesday, Thursday at 12. Okay. What is that, Roberta? That's the meditation retreat? You can talk about it here. Cool. Um, I'm gonna stick to the 12, or I'm sorry, I'm gonna stick to the 11 o'clock, just because it's a little easier for me in terms of my studio. It gets me going a little bit earlier in the studio, and then I can keep working after this. So I'm gonna stick to the 11 o'clock time. Um, and sorry if you miss it on Thursday. But you know, you can come. You can always watch it later, um, just because. Yeah, that looks a little easier for me. I threw some orange in there. I don't know if you can see it, but I threw some orange because I just felt like it needed a little perking up. Oh, thanks, Jen. What will we paint next? I don't know. I need to think about it. I don't know. Maybe flowers again. Does anyone have anything you want to be painting? Painting. Um, Someone recently did a online class where they painted their spirit animal. So we could do an animal painting next. Tell me if you think that that would be fun. Um, Sarah, what I'll do is I'll think about it and I'll do another live stream. I'll schedule another thing and put it in the comments, I guess. So just check my channel. But if you have any suggestions of things you want to paint, let me know. I mean, originally I wanted to try to make this similar to the classes at AV Tech since those aren't happening right now. But game for whatever. Lisa, when you said yes, does that mean yes to anything or yes to any? Spirit animal. Okay, I'm going to let you choose that for yourself. But yeah, we'll do an animal painting next time. And I'm going to do probably a furry creature, like a cat or a dog. Probably a cat. Sorry, everyone. It's my, I love cats. So yeah, we'll do an animal painting. And if you want to incorporate other stuff like with this bouquet or something, feel free. But Jill, I keep getting messages that I have to get to. My 9-year-old would like to see you paint a unicorn. Oh, that could be really fun. I love that idea. We will paint a unicorn. I've never done that before. Yeah, we'll paint a unicorn. That sounds fun. I might make a video where I finish this up. I'm going to have to log out of here, everyone, and so glad. After Amos, I love your paintings with choirs and orchestras, figures. Okay, cool. Maybe next week we'll do that. I might make a little video where I finish this up and I'll post it to my channel. Your pictures, if you make something cool, painting you like, I'll put it on my blog. But in the meantime, have fun, wash your hands. It's like for a minute there, I forgot about the world, and that's kind of nice. So I'm going to log off, and thanks again, everyone. Awesome to see you all, and hope I'll be looking for you on Thursday at 11 o'clock. All right, bye.